The following is a story reported in the Washington Times, April 1st, 1899. They write that, several years earlier, a sensational spectacle had taken place in London. At the end of one March, quote, the whole police force in London were put on alert, as an announcement began to make its way through the city that some daredevil planned to leap from a hot air balloon into the Thames. Now, it's not made clear how this announcement spread through the capital, but I think we can take some liberty and imagine pamphlets like these were possibly circulated. Or perhaps it was just word of mouth, a story shared by pub landlords, boot polishers and salute salesmen whilst they plied their trades. Keep in mind how exotic and entrancing a spectacle it was for hot air balloons to pass over old smoky London in the mid-1800s. We read on the London Museum website that in the 1800s, balloon ascents and races were popular attractions at pleasure gardens. These were parks where Londoners drank, danced and enjoyed a range of entertainment. Vauxhall Pleasure Gardens was one of the main sites for balloon ascents, but others like Chelsea's Cremorne and Ranelagh Gardens also stepped up their game to compete for visitors. And before this, there was the Italian aeronaut Vincenzo Lunardi, who, quote, was known as the Daredevil Aeronaut, and became a celebrity overnight. His balloon launches were attended by thousands. People sang balloon ballads and bought balloon-themed souvenirs. Balloons occupy senators, philosophers, ladies, and everybody, said writer Horace Walpole in 1785. Now, combine this balloon madness with the daredevilry of performers such as Selina Young. Selina was a skilled tightrope walker who acquired the nickname the Female Blondin, a tribute to Charles Blondin, the man who tightrope walked across Niagara Falls. In 1861, the Victorian showman Edward Terrell Smith took over the management of the aforementioned Cremorne Pleasure Gardens and planned a novel stunt to celebrate the occasion. He paid Selina to attempt the amazing feat of tightrope walking across the Thames from Battersea to Cremorne Gardens, a stunt which she accomplished on her second attempt. Her first attempt apparently going wrong, as midway through the stunt, the rope began to sag. Apparently this was because some local rapscallion had stolen a weight, weighing it down. Her stunt pulled in an audience of thousands. And so in this atmosphere of rapidly inflating excitement for bizarre feats of daring, we place our story. When the first day of April came, eager residents and concerned bobbies prepared themselves for the potentially perilous stunt. We can imagine charged crowds gathering on the bustling old London Bridge, hoping not to crick their necks as they expectantly looked upwards into a, let's face it, probably raining sky. And then nothing happened. April the 1st turned to April the 2nd, with no sign of a hot air Houdini taking a plunge into the Thames. And as reported by the Washington Times, April 1st, 1899, it was some time before the phlegmatic Londoners connected the scheme with April Fool Day. Yep, this was a April Fool's Day prank. Some merry jester had made the whole thing up just to attract a crowd and worry London's constabulary. Now, if you're watching this video on the day I released it, April 1st, you might have seen that twist coming. But here's the thing, the twists don't stop there, because when I read this column in the Washington Times, I thought, what an interesting story. I've never heard of that before, and so I went to find more information about it. I searched through old historical records online and archived British newspapers, and I think you might have guessed where this is going, but I found absolutely zero record of this London balloon story anywhere. The only place I found it was the April 1st, 1899 copy of the Washington Times. And at this point I started to wonder, was this balloon story itself an April Fool's joke? Had I just been the fool, pranked by a newspaper's author 127 years after they wrote their story? Well, maybe, and congratulations to them if so. But what I actually think is more likely is an interesting phenomenon that I've come across quite a few times whilst making some of my videos. That is, when you see stories in old newspapers that start with sentences like several years ago, as opposed to giving an actual date, there's definitely a possibility you're reading unsubstantiated folktales being passed off as historical fact. Ye olde fake news, as it were. And it's not necessarily intentional falsehoods spread as fact. just an often repeated story that was hard to fact check at the time and so got printed again and again. And I've actually been finding it really interesting that the more I make these videos, the more examples I find like that. It's kind of shocking how often I find an interesting bit of trivia, but because I'm terrified of passing on misinformation to you guys, I drill down to see if I can find a source of the fact, and it just turns out to be apocryphal or a half-truth, or an opinion that got documented as if it were the concrete facts. A fun example being, when I made my video, They're Building a Warning Out in the Desert, I wanted to talk about the idea of curses written on the tomb walls inside Egyptian pyramids. I half remembered the quote supposedly written on the walls of Tutankhamun's tomb: "Death will come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king." But with a quick Google search, that idea was debunked. There are no curses written on the walls of Tutankhamun's tomb. Seemingly it was just an invention of 1920s tabloids. When people related to the excavation of King Tut's tomb started dying, an excitement to report on the subject, combined with lack of information, caused British newspapers just to make up details, such as the Pharaoh's curse. And from there, the compelling falsehood spread. And it's not exactly a problem we've grown out of. Even though it's not 1899 anymore, it's still staggeringly easy to get duped. For example, much like the people who may have been tricked into gathering on a London bridge to watch an aeronaut jump from a hot air balloon into the Thames, last year on New Year's Eve, thousands of people waited eagerly for a fireworks show at the Brooklyn Bridge. As the clock struck 12 and the crowd expectantly looked to the sky, nothing happened. Just like our Balloon Daredevils pamphlets, the New Yorkers had been dished up social media posts informing them there would be a spectacle, a New Year's fireworks show at the Brooklyn Bridge. And like our story from the 19th century, they were fooled. No such spectacle arrived. And so perhaps this proves we've learned absolutely nothing in the 127 years since this newspaper story was printed. And we will just carry on believing whatever we read, even when it seems like a story that is too good to be true. I don't know, perhaps if we treated every day like April Fool's Day and braced ourselves for bollocks a little more when we picked up our newspapers, we'd be a bit better off. Though with all that being said, I guess there's still a chance that the London April Fool's balloon prank, or at least some version of it, did happen, and I just happened to stumble across the only record of it online. I kind of hope that's true, because it's a pretty fun story, but without any more proof. For now, I'm going to lean towards it being just a load of hot air. So yeah, thank you very much for watching the video. If you liked it, please do like it. And if you're not subscribed, I'd very much appreciate it if you could subscribe. And hyping is apparently a thing that helps, so I'd appreciate it if you would hype it too. And lastly, thanks to all you lovely people, YouTube's allowed me to enable the membership feature on my YouTube channel. So big thank you for that. And if you'd like to become a member, you now can. But for now, that's everything I got for you today. Bye, folks.